So thank you for taking your time on understanding the training part. Now let's start with the actual training. Okay. So this is your main training, Angular 12, getting started. Angular is an amazing framework, according to me. A lot of other people have their own opinion. Especially there is a fight between Angular and React, which one is better framework. I still have opinion that for enterprise application or a structured application, Angular is much better option. Uh, Applications which don't require too much structure, that is where React can be a good option, and which is very UI specific. So that's my understanding on Angular versus React. Let's start with what Angular provides. Latest version of Angular is 12. Not much has changed since I think 9 and 10 version has come out. There are minor improvements done on 11 and 12. So Angular is a modern JavaScript framework for building client-side applications using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's pretty much basic what you will get out of their documentation as well. Now I tell you my own definition. Angular actually is a super cool, high-powered JavaScript framework that makes you fall in love with front-end development. So I personally used to hate JavaScript completely because it's a horrible language, in my opinion. It's not well structured. It has a lot of confusing syntax and everything. So what Angular does is it shields you from those complexity by utilizing TypeScript, and you can focus on developing application and not solving the syntactical errors. It can be used for almost everything: desktop, server, mobile application development. If you guys know that there is something called Electron, your VS Code is built on Electron. So you can just take an Angular application, put it onto the Electron, and it works as a desktop application for you. There are a lot of components of Angular which you can actually use into your server side also, a server side Node.js application. And Ionic is also one of the places where you can use Angular. So if you learn Angular properly, you essentially become a full stack developer also. So your ASP.NET Core skills are enhanced with knowledge of Angular, and you can put your title as full stack developer once you complete this course. So first question is, why was Angular created ever? We have so many frameworks in the world. Why do people come out with new frameworks? That is a tough question to answer. But I'm glad that Angular came out with a very good philosophy. This was the main philosophy why they came out. It was to make your HTML expressive. So when you read this HTML, you know what it means. Instead, if you had just DUP and all those things, you won't understand like what is the structure of the HTML. With this, you can easily understand that this is a side panel, this is main content, and within that we have user profile. So these are all custom element that Angular helps you build. So Angular was one of the first one to do this thing. Now almost every framework does this, but it was one of the first one or pioneers to do it. I think that really caught on with the developers that, yeah, this is an amazing thing to do. Another thing Angular does really well is data binding. Angular 1 was all about data binding only. The people used it for ease of data binding. Though it was not the first one to do all those things, I think Knockout.js was something that used to exist. I think it exists right now as well. So they started this two-way data binding. Then Angular adopted it. But right now also Angular is one of the framework who does two-way data binding really well. React and all those are very good at one-way binding or event binding. Two-way is something that Angular does really, really well. It was designed keeping in mind all the good things. So BI is one of the most important concept that a developer should know. It is called dependency injection. I think if you are using .NET Core, you must be familiar with it, that you have to register a lot of services in your startup.cs and then you inject them in the constructor. So that's dependency injection. It is absolutely necessary that you learn that, and it can drastically improve your code management. Components can be decoupled. So one of the best thing with Angular is that every component can be decoupled. I highly recommend that component has to be many component and many smaller components instead of fewer larger components. So it will help you decouple most of your components. Unit tests, it is very, very important unit test to have a unit test in your project. Usually where I work, I ensure that 80% code is covered under unit test. What unit test does is it does not allow your code to develop the technical debt over the time. It also reduces the number of bugs because a lot of thing is now automatically tested when you commit and everything. So I highly recommend that if you are not doing unit tests, you start doing it. We will cover some of the unit testing concept from the Angular perspective in the later training part. But then it is absolutely recommended to start using unit tests. So it has a lot of built-in backend integration services. Foremost is Webpack. So entire build that you see of Angular is built using Webpack as a backend. It uses, I think, Webpack 5 now. It has its own CLI tool, which internally uses Webpack only. Webpack is an amazing tool which does what it says. It's a package manager, build manager. So it takes a lot of JavaScript in it does processing on it, and it produces the minified or optimized versions of JS file only. So these are all really good features for your enterprise application. Now let's understand anatomy of an Angular application. That will give you holistic view why Angular applications are easier to build. So this is the simple anatomy, just two things. There are components and then there are services. So the Angular applications are one of the easiest one to understand. If you have ever experienced any React side of it and React development, you will understand how complex React is. When you learn React, you have to learn 5 or 10 new things in React. But when you're learning Angular, you just learn Angular. You don't have to go and find new things. You can build an entire application just by using Angular libraries. You don't even have to use the third-party libraries. So it's a very capable framework and a very simple one. Component and services, that's it. The next question would be, what is a component? So a component is a combination of a template. So template is your HTML that you write, all the property binding and everything done in template. Combine that with a backend class, that is component.ts. So a class may contain properties and methods. So these two combined with some metadata creates a component. Now, this is a very simple concept to understand again. Another thing you have to keep in mind is that the simplicity is in multiple components, not on a single larger components. The best practice of component is to have not more than 5 public methods. There can be many private methods within a class, but don't have more than 5 methods as such in a class. And keep your templates as small as possible. So this way, most of your components are decoupled and reusable. Now, Angular is built on TypeScript. TypeScript is an open source language from Microsoft. Microsoft created a lot of good things in last few years, and TypeScript is one of them. It's a superset of JavaScript. So essentially, any JS file right now you have are all TypeScript already. You can just rename them from .js to .ts and it still works. However, TypeScript brings a lot of extra features which are not there in your JavaScript. For example, current JavaScript that most browsers support is, I think, up to ES 2019. Whereas the latest version is ES 2021. And there is ES Next also, which is there, which is a new features which are not there in any browser right now. So with TypeScript, you can absolutely use every possible feature of ECMAScript, even if it is not supported by your browser. Why? Because TypeScript is transferred into a regular JavaScript. So that's the amazing thing to do. It is a strongly typed language. So if you are familiar with C# already, C# is a strongly typed language, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. When you do a dot and everything comes out, it's easier for you to develop application without remembering a lot of things. So that's the very important feature of TypeScript, and it is a class-based method. So JavaScript does not have classes default as its default. However, over the time, JavaScript now has class, but TypeScript had class from the day one itself, and it has amazing support for it. So this is the TypeScript that helps us learn Angular much easier. Let's see some live demo. Before we go there, any questions so far in the presentation? If you want me to take any other slide, previous slide. Okay. So we will start with something called Angular CLI. Let me very quickly give you a brief about it. Can you see my screen with CLI overview and command reference?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So you can go into your command line and install the Angular CLI. This is how you need to do it. Type npm i-g @angular/CLI. How many of you know what is npm? So maybe the question would be, how many of you know what is npm? Rest, I'll assume that they don't know. If you know npm, just raise your hand. Okay. So npm is a package manager for Node. Its full form is Node Package Manager. So when you install Node.js in your system, it installs Node and npm, both of with it. So it is essentially used to bring all the third-party libraries into your system. So this is the common command that you will use. So npm install is the longer version. So this is how you would write your command typically when you want to install a new package, any third-party library. I think most of you .NET developer are aware, are familiar with NuGet, I guess. So this is kind of a NuGet for Node.js. It brings all the required dependencies in the system. Now this is npm install. What it does is it installs the Angular CLI within the same folder where I execute this command. So if I right now execute this command, it will install this Angular CLI within training folder. However, Angular CLI is something that I want universally accessible. So from any folder, I should be able to access Angular CLI. What I need to do is I just need to add this switch -g. -g means it tells npm to install the Angular CLI in a global namespace. So from any folder, you should be able to access Angular CLI. So I would want you to execute this command in your command prompt. So once that is done, we will move forward with creating new application. And before that, any questions, then please you can ask me.
Yes. Hi, Chandan. This is Sarjan.
Yeah.
So, we are on a lower node version because we are on a lower Angular version. So, what is the best practice that you would recommend to have two different node versions?
So
running
you are on which version right now?
We have Node 6.
Okay, so you can download the latest version. 14 is the one that you should be having right now.
But our application doesn't support that latest version.
So your application is in which version of Angular?
It's in Angular 4, 4 dot something.
Right.
So, yeah.
So typically you can install multiple variant of Node in your application. There is something called NVM, Node Version Manager.
With NVM, the problem is to switch between versions, we have to do it in command prompt.
Correct.
But the IDEs don't support that way of switching, right? So
which IDE are you using right now?
we were asked to, we are using Visual Studio Professional.
Okay.
We were asked to use Visual Studio Code for this training.
Correct. So with Visual Studio Code, you should be able to use NVM easily. Otherwise, your default version will remain 6. I'll probably prepare more tutorial tomorrow on how to set up both versions simultaneously, which makes it easier for you within Visual Studio as well as VS Code, which version to use. For now, you can continue.
I'll install NVM then and try to switch between versions.
Sure. What about others? Are they able to install? One person, Nirali Patel, is I think she's connecting audio, so she is not able to connect for a very long time. Can somebody check on her if?
Yes, no, Chintan, I am connecting in both way, mobile also.
Okay, perfect. Just write when you are done installing Angular CLI in the chat box, so we can proceed with it. Is it done from all of your end? If you're facing any issues, please post it here. I'm just waiting on you to type done. Perfect, Pradeep. Excellent, Lekha. Perfect, Dhawan. Perfect, Parima. Perfect, Nikunj.
Chintan, I have a small question, Chintan.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, while installing this Angular within the global version, and sometimes we get a strict SSL error. And then what we have to make is that we have to set a config flag, making the strict SSL to false. Could you please let me know why is that SSL error comes usually while installing?
So there can be a lot of factors, but what I assume from your case, at least from Colabra's case, is that most of you guys use VPN, right?
Yeah.
So there must be something in between firewalls, like I think Sophos or something is being used at your end. So that is causing this issue probably in Colabra's case, that SSL is again making problem. If you disconnect from VPN and directly connect to internet, your error should go away.
Okay.
Okay, I think Sanjay is done. Ravi is also done. Perfect. Arshad is also done. Perfect. And Karthik, Bala, Nirali, Chintan Bhai. If facing any issue, please you can ask me also. Perfect, Chintan. Very good, Nirali. I think Bala and Karthik, you two are left. Are you guys facing any issues as such? Why this? Okay. Okay, Bala is done. Karthik, you are the only one left. Okay, perfect. Okay, so once your npm is installed, what you can do is you can start with ng new and type my app and hit enter. So I'll just add batch to prefix over here. You don't have to add that. But when you do this, it will ask you two questions. First question is, would you like to add Angular routing? So typically, 90 to 95% application requires routing, but sometimes you don't need that if you are creating a one-page application where things are very static. In our case, we will ask that, okay, yes, we want routing to be done. The second question will be style sheet format. So typically these are the four type of style sheets available. CSS is your plain CSS that browser supports. SCSS, SAS and LESS, these are the enhanced versions of CSS. Just like TypeScript is an enhanced version of JS, these three are the enhanced version of CSS. So this is more applicable towards your designers in the team who write HTML and CSS. My recommendation is that you use at least SCSS or SAS. They are very good and very help you a lot in your productivity enhancement. If you can't, then you use less. And if you can't use three, then CSS is something that you have to use minimal. Right now, we'll pick the CSS as our default option. After that, it will create the entire hierarchy for you. And it will install all the NPM packages as well. Let me know if any issues so far. You should be able to execute this command effortlessly. Let's put done when you are able to execute, and installing packages comes in your prompt. It will take time actually to install all the packages, but right now you can quickly just execute the command and put done over here.
Chintan bhai,
Yes, Chintan.
can you show me once again that previous index npm install? I actually restarted my system.
So this is the command ng new and then the application name. So in your case, my app will be the name.
No, I created one again new folder. So npm install what that?
Okay. Yeah, it would take me some time to do that. Yeah, this is the command. So npm install -g @angular/CLI.
Just 1 minute.
Very good, Ravi. Others who are done, please put your dones in that. So I know that no one is facing any troubles. If you are stuck at anything, please always ask me question.
Chintan bhai,
Yes, yes, Chin.
it's calling that NPN is not recognized as an internal or external command operator.
So you need to install Node.js first. Once you have installed Node.js, then this command will work.
Okay.
Is everyone else done with the new app creation?
No, Chintan, it's working.
Okay. So is it showing installing packages?
Yes, it's showing installing packages.
Yeah, so you can put done for that. It will take time to install package, so we can just move forward. It can happen in background also. So I typically recommend that you do that in D drive training somewhere where you don't mess up other folders. So as you see, I created a few other applications already. So next step is you go to the My App and right click over here and hit open with code. The VS code that you installed, it will be visible over here. So this is how it will look like.
Jitan, I am having one clarification. I'm getting that unable to get a local issuer certification.
So you need to set this flag thing. Let me quickly share this command. So if you execute this command, you should be able to run it. Just copy this npm config command, and then you'll be able to execute.
Okay, fine.
Okay, let's start with the understanding of the entire structure. You can continue working on the creation of app. So typically what you will see is SRC folder and all the other files over here at root level. So this is the basic anatomy of any Angular application. The important file for us is angular.json. So this is one of the most important asset in your application. How you configure this will determine whether you are able to build application quickly or not, whether your application performs well or not. Because this is where Angular CLI takes all the input and builds your application. So you have to have very good understanding of this file, every node of this file. So if any of you who already knows Angular, can you take me through a walkthrough for this thing? Anybody who wants to volunteer? Don't worry about if you get wrong. You're here to learn. Okay, let me start from my side. So first node is schema. Schema tells how the structure of the entire file should be. So what nodes are allowed and what are not allowed, you can specify over here. CLI analytics is the token that Angular CLI, first time when you run Angular CLI, it will ask you that can it track your usage for improvement. So if you say yes, then it will put this random GUID within the JSON file. It has no implication on your application usage. So you can just ignore it. This is the version of this file, angular.json. It has not been revised so far. Next is the new project root. So it is projects right now. There are two options possible, projects and libraries. So project is the root node under which all our projects are specified. So when you start, your first default would be the name of the application, which is right now we have given as my app. So my app is the one that we have created right now. Its project type is application. So there are two possibilities, application and library. If you delete this and hit control space, it will show you both options. Application are your typical application, front-end application. Library is the third-party library. For example, Angular, Material, Bootstrap. Those are the third-party libraries. For .NET developers to understand, it is like a DLL, third-party DLL that you import into your application. Next comes the very important part, schematics. So schematics helps your application define things in a way that a lot of automation can be done on top of them. For example, Angular provides this service called auto upgrade. So you can do ng upgrade and your current application will be upgraded from whatever current version to the latest version also. How does it do it? It does it through schematics. So with schematics, it can track like, okay, this was the code and how do you convert this code into the latest version? So that instruction comes into schematics. Angular by default has schematics for all the modules like Angular/core, Angular/routing. All those modules already have schematics with it. A lot of the third-party libraries also have schematics, but not all libraries have schematics. So recommendation is that whenever you're building an Angular application, try to use libraries which support schematics. How do you know that? If you are able to add a third-party library using ng-add, then that library supports schematics. If it says that you need to use npm install, then it does not support schematics. So recommended approach in your application development is to use schematic-based third-party libraries. Any doubts before we proceed?
No.
Okay.
So Chintan, what is the difference between schematic supported and schematic not supported?
At the level of automation and other things that you can do with it. Schematics help you with a lot of automation. It gives your application kind of a metadata, which is used by Angular CLI and Webpack to automate lots of stuff.
Okay.
And Chintan, what are the other possible options which are which can be given just like strict is true on the line, just on the schematics?
You can just put and do this control space. So all these things are there,
Okay.
and their descriptions are also written there.
Mhm. Can you please let us show that what happens if we give the inline style and the value for that?
So what inline style does is that if you do inline style, if you remember when you create a component, it has a in metadata @ component, we specify the selector, template URL, and the style URL.
Mhm.
So if I put inline style true, when it compiles, it will inline entire style. Instead of using that extra file, it will put it in the TS file itself.
Okay, fine. Mhm.
So that way you can control lot about Angular over here.
Fine, sure. Got it.
So this is about schematics. Next comes root. The root is the application root. So in this case, this is the main folder, my app folder, that is the root. So that's why there is nothing written over here. If it was in a different folder, let's say my app / Collabra or something like that, I would have used /Collabra. In current case, it is this folder itself, in the same folder where Angular JSON is there, in the same folder is the application. So that's why we don't put anything. Then we tell Angular where our source code is. So with source root, you can specify src folder name. Then prefix. Prefix is one of the underutilized features of Angular. Most people don't really modify app over here prefix. Usual recommendation is that you use company name and the module name as a prefix. For example, in Collabra, if you are developing an application for, let's say, HR department, let's say onboarding is something to be done. So typical naming should go like COL-HR. So that way you can have better reusability and your global scope is not modified. Because app is very common, so there are chances that it may create conflict with other application in the similar folder. So it's just a recommendation. It's up to you what to keep as a prefix. So once all this basic information is done, then we come to architect. So this is the main node that controls how your application is built. So within architect, you will have multiple options like build, serve, extract, and test. So right now there are only 4 options. You can define n number of as per your requirement. So one of the options right now we don't have is E2E, end-to-end test. If you want to do, then we can define it separately. Right now it is defined within test itself. But if I had a separate unit test and separate E2E test, I could define two different nodes for it. Now let me explain the entire build node. Other nodes are very similar to build only. So you just need to learn build and then you'll be able to understand others. So first node within build is builder. Builder is a node which tells the Angular CLI what configuration to use for building this architect. So Angular CLI internally uses Webpack, and Webpack has lot of options for every different type of scenarios. So when I use builder like this and say that I want to build it for a browser scenario, so it will set a configuration, Webpack configuration in such a way that it produces output which is suitable for the browser. Similarly, if I had to target desktop application, so instead of browser, I would say :desktop, or similarly :Ionic. So these are all hypothetically I'm saying, but then that is the idea. Like the target environment you are targeting, you can specify it over here. And these are the options that is passed to this builder. So builder wants to know like what is the output path. So once it completes, where should it put all the files? So we specify that dist folder is there where you should put all the files. It will ask like where is the index file where I can replace the GS and everything. So we say index.html. Main is the file where everything starts. Polyfills. So can anybody tell me what is a polyfill?
Those are the scripts that we use for the backward compatibility.
Correct. It is mainly used for backward as well as forward compatibility also. Polyfills are usually a script which simulates a functionality in a browser. Let's say if your browser does not support HVG. So there is an polyfill available which runs in the browser. So whenever you go and try to access something related to SVG, it does not throw an error. Your application can still run. Though its performance is not that good, but then your application will still support a lot of the older browsers. Now, how polyfill helps in future-proofing application is there are a lot of new features that ES Next comes out with, which may not be there in a lot of the current browsers. So you can add those polyfills to simulate the same feature for even forward compatibility. So that is how polyfill help you develop for the backward and forward compatibility. Next is tsconfig. So that file, that is the node that tells that which file to use for the TypeScript compiler. So TypeScript compiler needs its own options. So it can get that option from this file. We'll see in detail how this file is structured, but right now just understand this file is passed to the TS compiler. Next is assets. So this is where all your static items are there. For example, your ICO files, your img.png, jpg, all those files are mentioned over here. You can even mention the folder only, and all the files within that folder will be included. Similarly, styles. So all the styles that you are going to use, you should put it over here. Many a times, a lot of the front-end developer do is they put all these external styles into index.html. That's a bad practice actually. You should always put styles over here so they can be bundled into your build. Similarly, scripts. Scripts you can directly reference in an index.html or you can put it over here. one of the benefits of putting it over here is it gets bundled into the main bundle. So your caching improves over the time. Okay. Any doubt in the options for node? Okay. So next is the configuration node. So it basically tells that, okay, what are the possible configurations? So one is production build, one is a development build, and another is a CI build. So this CI build is something that I will expect you to create once I have explained you all these things. So right now we are using production and development. Now, lot of things are very common up till I think Angular 9 and 10. You did not have budgets. I think it was introduced in 9 or 10, somewhere around that time. Budgets are typically best practices of file size. So if you see in budgets, the first node says type is initial and the maximum warning and maximum error. So what happens is that your initial file, the first file that browser loads, cannot exceed 500 KB. If it exceeds 500 KB, it will issue warning. It will not fail your build. But if it exceeds 1 MB, it will fail your build. This is typically in line with the concept that, okay, your file should be easy to load and quick. It will improve your user experience. So these are the controls that you can impose on your builds. Second is any component styles. So what it says is that we can have hundreds of components, but for every component, the CSS cannot exceed more than 2 KB. If it exceeds, it will issue warning, and if it exceeds 4 KB, it will fail the build. Again, this is a good practice. Your component should be smaller and many components should be there. So that is the budgets. You can specify more options with it. File replacements. So this is where your environment.ts is replaced with prod.ts. Similarly, you can specify a lot of the options which you want at a runtime. So right now, if you're developing, you might be developing against localhost. So when you go in production, you may be using against the actual URL. So all those things you can define in prod.ts. So whenever the production configuration is run, it will replace environment.ts with environment.prod.ts. Next is output hashing. Output hashing will, what it will do is it will put a hash code in front of your in front of your files. This is particularly useful when you have application deployed on a CDN network. So this is one of the major challenges on front-end application development in how to cache your CSS files and how to later on invalidate them. So output hashing in production will ensure that every file, even if a 1 byte is changed, it will have different hash code. So every time a fresh file is served. You don't have to clear cache every time. That's a major challenge in front end. So this is about production. Now let's see development. So development specifies a lot of the options. It says that don't optimize builds in development. Of course, we don't want optimization. It can significantly improve your build time. Keep all the vendor chunks separate. So it will develop main.js separately and all the vendor chunks separately. We don't need licenses extracted in development environment. So in production, you have to ensure that you extract licenses. Because if you are using third-party libraries which are under GPL license or lesser GPL license, they all mandate that you put credits of the author. If they are not there, you cannot use those library. And if you use it after that also, you get sued. So ensure you are very compliant about licenses. Next is source map. So source map is something like if you are debugging an application, you'll need source map to map that to the source. And name chunks. So name chunks is a very simple thing. What your application does is it sees the entire tree and it creates a chunk of code. So let's have one piece of code that is required without any dependency of other. So that become one chunk. So when I navigate to another page, then I may require second chunk, but for first page I need a smaller chunk. So it will do a numbered chunk of your entire application. It is to optimize the performance. Now your assignment over here is you need to define another configuration over here. We have production and development. We will need to define something called CI. So this is a common concept, CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. What it does is when you commit your code into the source repository, it will trigger a build process, which will automatically build and test the application. So in that case, what I want is I want something more than development, but less than production. So that custom environment, you can define it over here. Like this, CI. And then start defining the options. So I will give you the requirement. You have to come out with this node, how to write and which options to set. Most of the options are easy to understand. So if you see, you just hover on it, it will tell you what that option does. So you can just, and there are multiple other options which you can just use control dot. So you have to give me a configuration based on my requirement. So I'll send you a separate doc on it and you can do that. And if I don't specify anything, production or development, it will by default take production. So if I just run ng build, it will by default take production build. Any doubt before we move into other parts? So build is a base one. Rest of the serve also uses the same. Production development only. So this is inheritance. It is just using the same option that is specified in the build into the serve. And so on. So extract will also have similar, test will also have similar. Only difference you will see is here, builder. This was built for just serving on a browser. Serve is used to serve the application through a dev server. Same way, extract I-89 means extracting internationalization libraries. So for that, you require a separate build itself. And with test, you need karma. So that is how you define all the builders, different type of builders. Okay, so that concludes on angular.json. So before I move forward, any doubts in this file? Well, this will be absolute critical file for you to understand if you want to learn Angular. Most developers make a lot of mistakes over here and their build times is very high. Their builds are not optimized. So all those problems will come if you don't understand this part of the application. All those who are doing it for first time, it must be overwhelming for you. So please feel free to ask as many questions as possible. Unless you ask, you will not learn much about it. Okay, let's move forward.
Chintan, I have one question here.
Yes, please.
So basically there are two environments, right? Development and production. Okay, so
Correct.
when we write ng build dash dash prod, okay, so it will take the configuration of production.
Correct.
If we just write ng build, it will have development. But let's say if say we are writing our own configuration, so what command we need to pass to take our this CI configuration?
You need to write ng build and then -c.
Okay, that configuration name.
Small c, and then write the configuration name. For example, CI is the name, then write CI.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? So karma is for your end-to-end testing. So we will take that later on in the course. Then we have packet.json. It's again a very self-explanatory file. You have name of your application, versions over here. I strongly recommend that you use this version properly. I'm not sure if you are all following Scrum in Collabora or not. If you are following, then iteration-based approach is used, and then you maintain version according to that. Next is scripts. So script is where you can write your custom commands. You can write a CI command over here and all others here itself. So npm start, npm build is the executed. Dependencies and dev dependencies are there. So dependencies are something that you need on all environment. Dev dependencies are the dependencies which you only need on development machine. Once the application is built and deployed on production, you don't need dev over there. So in a lot of the environments, you will not require dev dependencies. Are you all clear? Next is tsconfig.json. This is a file where all the compiler options are written. So TypeScript's compiler TSC runs, and you can pass all these options to it. Most of them are self-explanatory. If you want to understand them, you can just hover on them. It will tell you about the detailing on it. So I'm not going into too much detail of it. So these are the additional options for Angular compiler. Now in our angular.json, we saw that we are referencing tsconfig.app.json. Why? Because those are the common options for test environment and for browser environment. But when for browser, I start with main.ts and polyfill.ts. Whereas in test environment, I start with test.ts and polyfill.ts. So that's why two different files are created. Both are inheriting from tsconfig only. So that way, these all files are absolutely critical for you to understand how to use them. Any questions before I go into the SRC folder?
Yes, I have. Hello.
Yes, Parimal.
Yeah. So what is the difference between a package JSON and package log JSON?
The package JSON is the file that you should be worried about. Package log is a file that is created by npm. So you don't have to see that file at all.
Okay.
You just have to understand this file. This is just a side file which you can just ignore.
Okay.
Just don't delete this file.
Mhm.
It is useful in CI environment, but then you don't have to understand how the structure of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now let's start with the source folder. So first thing in source is main.ts. So this is your kind of a main.c file or main.cpp file that you used to do in college, which is the entry point of your application. We will see how this syntax works in the future session. But just understand that this is the line where everything starts, platform browser dynamic, and this is the module that is Bootstrap. So this is the module that starts everything. Now let's see what is that module. You can hit F12 on it. It will navigate you to that module, app module. These are the metadata that I was talking to you in my presentation. That when you define this metadata, it defines everything that Angular will do. If you see app module class itself, it has absolutely no logic at all. It's just defined over here like this. All magic happens within the decorator. And within decorator, we have specified that Bootstrap app component first. So that way, when app component is started, everything will work accordingly. You can specify multiple Bootstrap component also. It is not necessary only one component needs to be defined. So this is how Angular module works. And this is your first component. Sorry.
Chintan, so what is the difference if we are adding multiple components in that Bootstrap?
So your multiple components will run at the same time. So I'll show you how that happens.
Okay.
So let's say this is the first component, app root.
Okay.
What I can do is I can have two components. One is app root and one app child. And I want both to run on the application start. So right now when application starts, only app root works over here.
Yes.
If I have two components, app child. So if I want this to be run when the application start, I will do double bootstrap of both of them.
Okay. Okay.
So in index.html, the most important part is this base. If you miss this thing, you will have a lot of routing problems. And a lot of the times developers are not able to figure out why the error is coming. But majority of issue comes because they might have omitted this base.href from index.html. So that is the only important component of index. Otherwise, it is very standard HTML file. And then this is our application, how the application starts and everything after that starts. A component is very simple, as we saw in the presentation. It has a template, this metadata, and a class, which creates a component. So I define a selector that, okay, so app root, here you have to remember that I selected prefix as app. If you select something different, for example, I suggested col/hr, then the prefix should be like this. Otherwise, it will show warning. Right now, we'll use app only. Then we reference a template URL. So template is your standard HTML. Only thing to notice over here is this spam element, which has this title attribute, title property, which is defined in the app component. So when you define a class, you define one property and you give it a text. So when you run this application, it will just show this my app printed on the white page. My app is running. Similarly, CSS you can write and it will be combined accordingly. So this is how your component works. Other files are polyfill.ts. So polyfill TS is a well documented file. It will tell you where to use which polyfill. For example, this one, when you are doing I11 and you want SVG support, you can use this. You can just uncomment this and then follow this process, install this class list.js, so that backward compatibility come into your application. If you don't have to support I11, just comment it again. That way all things are written over here, and as and when you require, you can add more imports according to your backward compatibility requirement. Yeah, I think that's all for the first day. This was the entire structure and everything. So I have another 25 minutes for your doubts and for your assignments. Your assignment is to define the CI element which checks the application, but does not do all the optimizations and everything. Development does not check everything, very frankly. So if I do this thing in app, I've defined title over here, and in HTML, if I do this, development will not detect this problem. It will still build. But in production, it will say that, okay, there is no such property as title E over here. It is visible in IDE because IDE provides a language service. But when you build, it does not have language service at that time. So in my CI environment, I want to detect all the errors of the application. So you need to define this CI element in such a way that it does all those things. So can anybody share how we will start with this assignment? Basically, I need development environment, but a bit more strict development environment. So how do I start? Come on, you can start by saying something. It doesn't matter if it's wrong or right. You'll learn something. At least give it a try. Anyone?
Will AOT come into picture in this case?
Yes. See, AOT is a critical piece over here.
Okay.
So what should I write in CI? If anybody can help me. So I'll help you with this assignment for now. What you can do is, I want similar to development but stricter. So my starting point would be, I copy all the development settings. And then start optimizing them. So I don't want to optimize in CI. Both are false, that's perfectly fine. Vendor chunk separate or not separate, that will not hamper me right now. I don't want license to be accessed in CI. This source map, I don't want source map because I will not do any debug in the CI environment. So I'll probably set it as false. Name chunks, I don't want name chunks. I just want to verify the file because it does not impact my lazy loading right now. So again, I'll set it as false. And the most important new element that I have to add is AOT is equal to true. Because in AOT, it will catch all the semantic errors, all the syntax errors. So this will produce a similar to development, but it will ensure that it will check all the required things. So this is how you can create your own customization. You can do a comma and press control space. It will allow you all your all options to be listed here. Now another assignment for you is to research about this sub-resource integrity. Tomorrow I'll ask you what is this sub-resource integrity. So you may want to note down that you have to learn about sub-resource integrity. It is very good security feature that is available in browsers that we can explore tomorrow. But for now, you note down and bring that tomorrow. So this is how you can build your CI environment. Any other questions?
How can we like differentiate the role of this TypeScript compiler and Angular compiler?
So everything that you write in Angular JSON is for Angular CLI.
Okay.
And whatever you write in this TS config goes to TypeScript compiler.
Okay, but I'm having a confusion that at what point of time while compiling the code, which file takes what kind of components. Say for example, the component folder is being compiled by Angular, for example.
So it does in this two phase right now.
Okay.
First is Angular compiler.
Okay.
Something called NGCC is there. It is not something which we have to use. It is internally used.
Yeah.
But first it runs this NGCC to create AOT files.
Yes.
And then it runs a TypeScript compiler.
Okay.
So then it produces the final output of JS files. First, it optimizes everything and creates optimized TS files, and then
Yeah.
runs a TypeScript compiler to create the final JS files.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Any other questions? You don't have to be shy about it. You can openly ask questions. You are here to learn. So don't be hesitant. From tomorrow onwards, you will have something to read on first and then come. So it will be much easier for you to understand all the concepts. My main concern is with people who are mainly into backend and they have not done too much front end work. So it will be very overwhelming for them to understand all the concept in one go. So they have to be very open about their questions. Only then you will be able to grasp all these things. So if there are no other questions, then we can conclude our session for now, and we'll meet tomorrow.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, guys, it was nice meeting all of you first time. We'll continue tomorrow. I'll send you some reading material today. Try to read that. It will be just 15-20 minutes of read, but it will immensely improve your experience of training. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.